Welcome to a special episode of the Zencast. My name is Dale Pickles, Managing Director of B Squared and the host of the Zencast, a podcast for special educational needs and disability. This special episode is part of a series celebrating the award winners from the 2024 Nasen Awards. In this episode, my guest is Alison Eason, who won the Changemaker of the Year category. This award was sponsored by us here at B Squared, and we spent the whole evening with Alison, and she is amazing. Alison is the head of an ARP and an autism consultant, and Alison has taught for 20 years and has a master's degree in education, inclusion and diversity. She is a qualified Senko, specialist dyslexia teacher, and an advocate for adapted technologies. The Nasen Awards, organised by Nasen, celebrate outstanding contributions to the education support of children and young people with SEN. These annual awards recognise individuals, schools and organisations that demonstrate exceptional commitment to inclusive education and the advancement of SEN practices. You will find links in the show notes to find out more about the work Nasen does, all of their CPD and their events. Now, let's get on with the podcast. In this week's show, Alison Eason is here to discuss her work and why she won the Changemaker of the Year category. Alison was shortlisted because of a significant positive impact that she has made on the education sector by implementing innovative computing strategies to support students with SEND. Her computing work helps students with dyslexia, dyspraxia, autism and ADHD, promoting independence and reducing reliance on teaching assistants. Alison's strategies have led to increased engagements and autonomy for learners, enabling teaching assistants to focus on targeted support. Her practical advice has also equipped teachers with the knowledge and tools to integrate these technologies into their practice, creating a more inclusive and supportive learning environment. Welcome to the show, Alison.
Oh, hello, Dale. So nice to be here with you today.
You are welcome. And I've just heard from Alison that she's in a room full of alcohol and she's not in an off licence.
It's the end of term and I have an array of gifts from my wonderful parents and staff members.
So, congratulations on winning the Changemaker of the Year category. I have to ask the obvious question, what does winning this award mean to you?
I am still kind of processing it. It was an absolute surprise. I was overwhelmed with joy. It felt very affirming that the work that I have been tirelessly really doing within the SEND community and within my work was getting noticed and was appreciated. And it's kind of given me a new drive to continue on that journey.
So, which is better, the Nasen Award or all the alcohol?
Oh,
Obviously, the Nasen Award.
The Nasen Award. And yes, I don't actually drink very much. So I will be sharing it out with family and friends.
Love it. So I am a full-on, I love my tech. I think we should use tech more in schools, probably because I am neurodiverse and it just helps. So your work is around tech and computing and technologies. What is it you do?
What is it I do? Well, Dale, I'm a teacher. I've been teaching for 20 years. And if you know about life as a teacher, it's very difficult to maintain your skills. And there always seems to be a new innovation and a new technology or a new way of doing things. But fortunately enough, during lockdown, I was able to upskill my IT skills. I did Google Trainer, level 1 and 2, and I was supported by a tech community. And it wasn't by choice. I was thrown into it. My son brought home his Google Classroom and I was like, what's going on here? So I felt compelled to be part of that journey with him and with my students at my school so that they can keep learning and keep their knowledge base alert for when they could finally come back into the school.
Nice. You mentioned your son. I met your son.
Oh.
He was up at the Nasen Awards, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. My little one, Jaden, he's the diamond in my eye.
He was so well behaved for a night sitting there for a very long time at that table. He did amazing.
Yeah, he quite liked it. He asked me when the next one is.
And I bet he was proud of his mum.
He was very proud. And what is amazing, because I've been on this journey and it hasn't stopped, because I'm always interested in, improving what I already know. I can come to the table. He's now a teen, and I can say, "Oh, do you know about this? Or can I show you this?" And I still get those wow moments with my son, who is a lot younger. He's of the new age, and his mother is still impressing him with the knowledge that I have around tech. So I suppose that is probably my biggest achievement.
Yes. It's how long can you keep that going?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. But when I started the journey, I really felt like it was teaching your granny to send a text message. I was probably the worst student of the group. I had to keep asking for things to be repeated. But I wasn't in isolation. I found that a lot of teachers struggled with this new way of teaching and just how to use technology to to be a teacher and to be present. But I had a lot of support from Just a Guy and Google EdTech. And I think because I was always very passionate about SEND, they saw that in me. I didn't see it in myself, but they saw that in me. And they asked me to be part of a project called the Anywhere School, where it gave me the platform to talk about using Google EdTech in the classroom and all of their array of accessibility tools so that children could have their independence in the classroom and not have to rely on an adult to support them through their learning journey. So that was amazing for me to be recognized by Google EdTech and to be part of the Anywhere School, which you'll find on YouTube.
It's interesting. Technology has been in schools for a very long time, but generally the technology was used for the students by the students. And I think some schools dove in with technology, but others it was like that's for the kids, that's for the kids. And I think COVID was one of those things where those schools who were staying away from it, the teachers who were staying away from it, because they weren't sure, weren't convinced, they didn't have to. They really had to dive in. They had to leave the comfort of Microsoft Office and do something else and try Teams, Google Classroom, this, that. And I think there was a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty about it. But I think once they got in, like you, is that I'm not sure, but I'm building my confidence. And they realized actually there is a lot of power in this software and it can save us a lot of time. On the podcast, we've had previously Aaron, who has talked about all the Microsoft accessibility stuff. I have no idea what the Google stuff does. So what sort of stuff can Google do?
Okay, so they have an array of accessibility tools that you'll find on a Chromebook. And basically, it allows, I'll give you a few case studies. So I'm also a dyslexia assessor. I work in a dyslexia school. And some of the challenges those students have are reading and writing. So what the accessibility tools allows you to do, allows a child to do, is to read a text and to track the text because each word is highlighted as it's read to the child. So a child who struggles to read can read a book using the Chromebook and a text that is online. Or they can actually read anything because it could read a website, it could read text from Google Classroom, an array of writing that you'll find on a computer. So in addition, you have the text to speak. So children, I work with a child that's dyspraxic and he struggles with fine motor skills. So that's writing, zips, buttons, and he would tell you the most amazing story, and his creativity and his mind will really, take you away to where his thoughts were going. But he couldn't write it down. And one of the wonderful things that he was able to do, he was able to use text to speak, to tell his story, and to see his face light up at his words taking shape on a screen and knowing that he did that and he didn't need a scriber to write down those words for him. He literally said, "I did that, miss. That's my work." And just having that ownership of the work that he produced, it's absolutely amazing. In addition to those two tools that I've mentioned, you've also got, you could use PowerPoint and it will read the words for you on the PowerPoint. It's got accessibility tools for hearing and visually impaired. So you can tailor it to meet the needs of any of your students. And those accessibility features will be saved automatically unless you revert it back. So, you could keep track of what computer is being given to what child, and you won't need to reset those accessibility features, which is really handy because the more a child has exposure to it and uses it, the more efficient they become. So those are some of the features on Chromebooks that you'll find, that are there, that are free and just waiting to be used.
That's something, because I know loads of Microsoft. I live in the Microsoft world, and Teams and all that lot is doing all the same sort of stuff. So hearing it's all in Google is really good. And I know from a conference I went to recently where someone was telling us all the Apple stuff, again, on Apple iPads and stuff. It's all the same, and it is so cool. And I think something you mentioned then, I think is really, really important. And I think people underestimate the value of it. And that is him saying, I did that. He didn't have to rely on someone else or wait for someone else or talk at their speed of their writing to get those ideas down. He was able to do it independently on his own, him and his Chromebook.
100%. And just the happiness that you see in this child's eyes, it's just so rewarding as an educator. So I'm the head of an additionally resource provision. So predominantly I work with autistic children and children who have ADHD as well. And some of the tools that have been amazing for them is the widget. So we've got widget on tablets, on iPads, and we have some children who have difficulty with their speech and their pronunciation. And although the people around them on their day-to-day lives understands them, people that come in that are new to them will struggle to understand. And they can communicate via the tablet and via the widget app, and it will pop up the words and the visuals will come up. And again, it's giving a child a voice that would otherwise be overlooked and maybe not chosen to speak out. So, again, it's priceless, isn't it?
And I think it is so priceless. And I'm literally trying to imagine if you literally chose one activity from your day and said, you're not allowed to do that anymore. Your partner, someone you live with, or somebody in the room has to do it for you. So it could be making your lunch. It could be making a cup of tea. I wouldn't go for going to the toilet, but some random activity. And if you literally, for that activity, you had to ask someone and watch them do it with you telling them what you want them to do, how that would feel for you. That you can do so much else when you're at home. You can do it all. You can do things yourself. You've got your own agency. You go to school, and now you've got to rely on that person. Changing that to, here's some tech that will let you do it your way, in the order you want, how you want, with your personality, with your humor, allow you to ask those things you want, even though you might not be allowed them, but you can still have that opinion. It's priceless.
Well, that's one of the main things an additionally resource provision wants their children to achieve, is that independence. We know the children have challenges. We know they also have strengths. So we build on those strengths and we teach them to the best of our ability how to be independent young people. We have cooking on the curriculum. We have life skills on the curriculum, but we also have literacy and maths, and we have a whole curriculum that the children can access with some support, but with also independence. And that's what we will continue to promote and to push.
Because you said you rely on those things you use every day. So if you can set that tech up, they become reliant on it, they are more independent. If they are relying on a teaching assistant, then, and my wife has said this in her school, that children who have been with a TA all day, every day, become very reliant.
Yeah.
They won't go sharpen their pencil. They'll wait for it to be sharpened.
Yeah.
So giving them that agency, that independence, and making those decisions themselves and having that, oh, this isn't I need, is really, really powerful.
Well, we want to enable, we don't want to further disable our children. We want to give them the tools for success, and it's just so important. And let's face it, most children have access to a gadget by the age of 3, and a lot of these apps that I've discussed, you can get them on a phone. You could have screen reader on a mobile phone.
Yep.
These are things that children have access to. Some children have access to IT more than they have books. So it's about using the technology that is part of our everyday lives. Yeah, but it's also about us as well as educators.
Yes, that's
I do believe in working smarter and not harder. So it's about using the tech to support us in the classroom. And if you have a child that has ADHD and is constantly seeking that input, that reward, and they want to be noticed for positive things, we have apps and avatars, dojos. I don't know if you've heard of dojos. So
yep.
it's like an instant hit of dopamine. You see a child making a good choice, you say to the child, well done, 10 dojos, ping, and that child sits up in his seat, and he's part of a reward system that is giving him success and giving him the motivation to keep trying and keep making good choices. So that's another tool that we use in the classroom to keep our children engaged.
I think that positive, seeking those positives is really important, because for some children with SEND, they can be seen as a burden. If they're not diagnosed, they could be told they're not trying hard enough. Just put some effort in, stop mucking around, all those things. Or what do you mean you can't spell that word? All those sayings, when you don't realize that level of need, that kind of goes in and is a negative. So to kind of stop that negative and actually making them see that what they're doing are the right things, and help and showing that actually you are recognizing that they do have those areas where they struggle. You are supporting them, and B, you're recognizing that effort they're giving you back.
Not only recognizing that effort, but also recognizing their strengths, which is so important. And we have a lot of children in our provision that actually maths is just something that they excel in. I think it's to do with it being very literal, and they know it concludes to an answer. So we use coding with our children for them to create animations on Sprite. I don't know if you've heard of Sprite.
Yeah.
So, we have taught them how to program their own animations using Sprite through coding. And just the attention to detail and the concentration and, what they produce, it's mind-blowing, Del, honestly. Just with a little bit of teacher input, the creativity that they come up with, it's just very pleasing for a teacher to see and be part of.
I think there is. Math is kind of absolute, but there's also certain things you can just see. If you got like 3 of those and 2 of those, you can kind of see it in your head and you can do it in your head. I love the maths that I can really kind of twist around and manipulate in my head. When it starts getting into the further pure maths, I lose it. But I think coding can be the same. You've got what you want to achieve. You write what you think. You click on the button. Oh, that's not quite what I wanted. And then you do it and you go, oh, I could do this. And it kind of, you feed off your own imagination. And I find with stuff like coding, I remember doing it at school, I learned how to do things so I can make my games better. No one was teaching me. No, it wasn't directed. It was self-directed. I wanted to do this, so I found out.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And creating that sort of sense in the child that the only thing limiting this is you can go as far as you want. They will go off and do research. They will go and do those and then do the screen to speech and all that sort of other screen reader stuff so they can learn and then they can use it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it starts from a very early age. We have children in our reception class that are doing basic coding with Bbot, and some of these children they are non-speakers and they are able to do basic coding in such a fun and creative way, and I'm just amazed, literally, where they can go with this.
And I think we do. I think generally we use pupils' communication levels, their styles of communication, as a kind of an indicator to intelligence. We shouldn't.
No.
But when we see someone nonverbal, we start going, "Oh, they can't do things." No, they're nonverbal. Didn't say anything else.
Absolutely.
It could be all going in. It might not. We have to find out.
Absolutely, which is so important that we give them the tools to write and communicate. And I'm a big advocate of widget. We use widget to personalize all of our visuals in the provision with photographs and pictures for our children, not only the ones that are non-speakers, but the ones that are speakers, but actually the reinforcement of the visual and the vocabulary just supports their understanding even more. And we use that in our PowerPoint presentations that we give to the class when we're teaching, the environment, to label the environment, to make it accessible to our students. These are tools that are so essential for working with neurodiverse students.
And have you made a video for widget?
I have. I've actually made a couple of videos for widget. They've recognised our school as being, a bit of advocates for visuals, and it's been lovely to be recognised by them.
Because you sent me a long list of things that you've been involved in, haven't you? It's like, ooh, get her.
I tried to keep busy. I don't want to be left behind again. This is the thing. Lockdown taught me a lot. I'm not going to be left behind again.
Yes, it literally looks like you're not up to much, so you got to fill your time. That's what it kind of comes across as, which I know is definitely not the case. I know that is definitely not the case. But you've done lots, and you've done looking at things. You've got things, a widget. You've got helping autistic pupils to be themselves. You've got supporting autistic pupils using EdTech to enhance. You've done loads, and it's around that inclusion and technology. And I know schools seem to hate technology, or it is purely a financial thing, they think. But everyone in this office, we get here and we spend 8 hours a day in tech.
Oh, wow.
Whether we want to or not, even in a meeting, you're referring to tech.
Yeah.
We are tech all day long. There are some people who make paper notes. I make digital notes, but we are in tech for a whole working day. Then I'm generally using tech to get home because I'm using sat-nav. We just live in tech. And we need to prepare children for living in tech.
Yeah.
And for some children, they can do it in a paper-based way and they can do it in a tech, but they can be fluid in both. For me, as I've learned with my neurodiversity, there are things I struggle with in the paper world. And one of them is structuring things before I start writing and things like that. And if you could put it all in tech and just get that, I do a big brain dump and then reorganize it. Why can't I do that in school? Why do I have to do it this paper-based way? When the moment I leave school, if I go to college, I can probably use a laptop at college. If I'm going to university, I'm making my notes on my laptop. I'm reorganizing them. I'm going to get into a job. I'm probably going to be using tech.
Yeah.
And schools need to be preparing children for that tech world.
Absolutely. And in terms of predictability and structure and supports in our environment, tech is probably our biggest tool and our students' biggest tools, because we have widget and you're able to give parents widget accounts and children creating timetables for their Christmas holidays or their summer holidays. I'm speechless.
But it helps. It really does help.
Yeah.
And I think tech is if you have all these devices and you teach those children how to use them and they can go home and that support is already there. I remember years ago with concept keyboards. Do you remember those?
Yeah.
You had to program them and map them all out and plug them into a computer, which had a monitor. And it was specialist stuff. It took time. It was big. It was bulky. And you required individual switches and things like that. And now we've got these devices which can do so much. much.
In our pockets.
In our pockets. We have the whole of the world in our pocket. It's phenomenal. And yes, we need to teach them to use them responsibly. We also need to learn ourselves how to use them responsibly. But they are so powerful. And I think I live with one of my daughters has gone to university, but my other daughter is at home, and we have our face-to-face conversations. But sometimes I'm at work, she's on her way home from school, and we can have a chat, and we've got that connection. Sometimes we're just sending silly photos back and forth, but it's showing that personality. And you probably have children you work with who are nonverbal, but you get their personality by maybe what they're sharing digitally.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the ways we're able to keep in touch with our pupils is by using a digital diary. And I know B Squared has their own one. So yeah, we use a digital diary. So we share with parents what the children have been doing in their day at school in a lesson. But also, I know that parents over the Christmas holidays are going to upload photos of their children opening Christmas presents or visiting places of interest. So it's a way of keeping that communication going, even when we're unable to meet face to face or we're apart. And when they come back, it will prompt conversations, meaningful conversations, not just, how are you? How was your holiday? Oh, I saw you went to the museum. I saw you went to Winter Wonderland. I saw you eating your Christmas meal. And, it just helps. It helps give children those prompts to be part of a conversation.
And it also helps the parents. What do you do at school today? Your child is always nothing. Nothing. Or the most random thing. And then you found out that they got a certificate. You're like, what? Why didn't you tell me that? Because the frog at lunchtime is much more interesting.
Yeah.
So even just on that thing, having that diary gives parents that way into a conversation. You're not just asking what happened at school.
Yeah.
Oh, I heard you wrote an amazing story. I heard you had some visitors in. Anything like that, which just, it's immediately, because what did you do today is very abstract.
It is.
I heard you had a therapy dog come in. Yes, you're straight into a part of the conversation, which will then think about what maybe happened next or before, and you've got a whole conversation. And same with, how was your Christmas? Well, that's a whole 2-week period. Where do you want to start? I had beans for breakfast this morning. Is that where you want me to start? But the photos will be like the highlights, the big bits that will, again, just drives that conversation, and that's going to help that child have that conversation.
Yeah, and I think, so many a lot of our children come on school transport for a start, so we miss that face-to-face interaction in the morning. And then also some parents are isolated within their peer groups because they have an autistic child, and maybe, their friendship group, the understanding, the knowledge base isn't there. So it's just a way of us still being a community and still being able to support one another.
Definitely. And it's so important, as you said, when you do have a child with autism, and maybe as a parent, none of your other parent friends have children, you are starting to feel isolated, you feel judged and things like that. So building that community where they know other parents, they can talk to other parents with similar experiences, it just builds that community. And it also means that the children outside of school can have a community.
Yeah.
They're not at home waiting to go back to school. They can be at home with friends or do so. Yeah, it's important.
I'm going to have to give a shout out to one of my teachers, Catherine, newly in ECT. I mentored her through becoming a teacher, but she had an elf in her classroom, a little elf, and the elf was to go on a journey over the last 6 weeks of term with a child each weekend. So she sent the elf home with the child, and it really encouraged the families to get out and about, and everyone wanted to give the elf outdo the experience the elf had the week before. And it was just amazing. The elf went to the beach. It went to Wagamama's. It went on a slide. Who would have known?
So when you say went to a beach, you're based in?
We're based in North Finchley. But it went on a train with the family to Portsmouth Beach.
Nice. Literally, they went on the beach. I'm going, hang on, you're London. What? No. Is there a beach I haven't found in London? You were going to say they went to like Horse Guards Parade and that was the sand. But no, they went to a proper beach down by the coast.
Yep.
That's fun. And it is something about actually when you have weekends, what should we do? Not a lot, but when you have this thing, it's like, right, let's do something. And it does. It makes us somehow. I remember doing that with my daughters and whatever they came home from school with them. You made sure you did. It might not be big, but it was some form of adventure that you don't normally do.
Yeah, definitely. And it allows you to be a bit creative, isn't it? So the elf read a book, read a story, went on the train, but it did something, and it was worthy of sharing with school and with the other parents. So it was very, very lovely to see.
And also, it gets them children's imagination going. So, what photo should we take? What should we get the elf to do? And what do you think food would like? Would like an ice cream? And it just goes off, and then you end up buying an ice cream in December. And but you just have lots of fun with those sorts of things. And again, with everything else going on, those opportunities typically happen in primary schools, but it can be easy for that to get dropped off when you're focusing on so many other things. But to make that sort of that level of engagement with the parents, that is phenomenal. So great shout out to, was it Catherine?
Yes, Catherine Wheeler.
There you go, Catherine. Well done. So before we wrap up, is there anything you want to share with our listeners? Anything you want them to do?
I just would like them to embrace tech and, just have a look at using it to enhance your teaching practice and just to be mindful that our children will be going into jobs in the future that probably haven't even been created yet. So if we can start that journey for them going where they feel very familiar and very at ease with using tech from an early age, but also very mindful of the dangers that tech can also bring. We're putting them in good stead as far as I'm concerned. And it's good to challenge. I always feel that I should challenge myself so that I feel slightly uncomfortable, that I could just bring something more to the table.
Nice. And I think there is that thing. I know there was a big thing about banning phones in schools. I think in reality where we should be able to get to is that phone is on the desk next to the child in focus mode, no alerts.
Yeah, okay.
And they can almost like have it there and they don't have to pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you're banning it, they're still wanting to pick it up the moment they can. And they might be, so it's that educating them how to use it properly, but they are so powerful. There are so many things they can do to us. We should be embracing them, especially for children with SEND. For so many reasons, they should be allowed to use them, but we've got to teach them to use them correctly.
Absolutely. And in anyone that is working in SEND, tech really allows you to personalise those children's experiences, which is why it's so important for me as the ARP lead to be working in as a SEND in the SEND community, to not only to support the people in my school, but other educators out there. So,
definitely. So thank you for coming on the show today. You will find Alison's contact details in our show notes and a long list of things she's done that she's shared with me, so you can find out all about her work. And as always, you'll find the show notes on our website, which is www.thesencast.com, or wherever you listen to this podcast. So thank you for listening to the show. If you are listening through a platform that allows you to leave a review or give it a rating, please leave a little review or give it a 5-star rating. Let others know what you think. And if you want to get in touch, let us know your thoughts, suggest topics or anything else, please send us a message on social media or send an email to hello@thesencast.com. The Nasen Awards, organised by Nasen, celebrate outstanding contributions to the education support of children and young people with SEND. These annual awards recognise individuals, schools and organisations that demonstrate exceptional commitment to inclusive education and the advancement of SEND practices. Nasen is a charitable organisation that supports children and young people with SEND. And Nasen's goals include influencing government policy, providing information, training and resources to support practitioners in schools, and contributing to the debate and affecting the change to improve outcomes for children and young people. You will find links in the show notes to find out more about the work Nasen does, their CPD and events. So, thank you for listening. We'll be back next time with another episode of the Zencast. It is goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me, Alison Eason.
The one and only. Bye.
Bye.